Everybody, Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sunday, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, Sundays with Andrew Zarian. And it's Tuesday here on the show. We're back. We were off yesterday. It was a holiday. But man, a lot of stuff happened over the weekend. We'll never get into all of it, but that's why we have WrestlingObserver.com and Apple, Spotify, etc. All of the shows, we've reviewed everything for subscribers. We'll get into what we can get into here today. Well, besides the news and the Raw report, we have a very special feature coming up this week. It's back to school week. And so, since kids are going back to school, we're going to be talking books. Carl Stern will be on today, Tara Calloway tomorrow, Ian Douglas on Thursday. We'll tell you all about that here on the show. Carl's got a great Pioneers of Wrestling, History of Wrestling omnibus we're going to talk about here today, and it's going to be a good time. That'll be the final segment of the show. Filthy Tom has arranged this, so I'll let him explain it to everybody. And yes, I know some of you, your kids went back to school in like August. What a horrible thing. Our kids go back to school the first week of September, so we're doing it my way here today. Got it? But anyway, we got a lot of news to get into, including the return of AJ Lee, Hologram's clone, which I'm 100% sure Tony Khan stole this idea from me. The Rock, maybe an Oscar contention. I don't even know if I want to read what Rampage Jackson wrote the last couple of days. Roman Reigns, lots of news to get into here today. We'll do the best we can. But if you want to text us, 425-780-7566. You can email me at f4wonline@gmail.com. I'm F4WOnline. Threads, Instagram, $10 cameos at Bryan Alvarez, X and Blue Sky. Back in a moment with more Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Okay, can everyone hear it?
Yeah.
There's a mystery bell at Granny's house. She can't hear it. Take off your headphones for a second.
I had them on wrong anyway.
Okay.
I can't get them on right. What?
Right, take them off and listen.
You have in your elbow?
Is the fan on a computer?
Nothing.
All right, well, this is going to be an exciting show.
Gonna have bells ringing through the whole thing, and it's every week. It's got to be me.
Do you have a neighbor that's an ice cream man
No,
practicing out there?
I got a neighbor that smokes marijuana.
I'm sure you do. I guess
Whatever that noise is, I mean, it's still going.
Yeah, it's not going to stop, dude.
Brian, do you want me to get off here and go see if open the door and see if there's anything out there?
You think something's out the front door?
Is he ringing the bell the entire time?
No, Granny, you don't
Let
need
me
to-
in! Let me
it's
in!
Fine, it's fine.
If it's death, don't open the door.
Thank you, Craig. This person thinks it's a stove timer.
Have you burned the roast?
No, I don't have a stove. You want me to just get off here?
No. We're going to barrel through it.
I'd love it.
You're not even doing anything. Granny, Nick says that you've got an old-fashioned analog alarm clock in Terry's bedroom.
I don't know. I got a new alarm clock, battery operated. Is that what she meant?
Well, whatever it is, it's going haywire right now.
Oh, it might be my alarm,
You think?
but it's way back in the bedroom.
Don't worry about it right now. But when the show's over, you might want to go...
That's what it is.
Okay.
Solve the mystery.
Is there a reason you didn't turn it off when it started ringing?
Well, I wasn't in there. I didn't.
Duh.
I took a nap. I took a nap and set the alarm. I thought I shut it off, but I probably didn't.
No.
You probably didn't.
That's life.
I would say with a good deal of certainty that you didn't turn it off.
Brian, that's life around here.
Yeah, I'm well aware. I do the show with Dave, too.
Say,
Hear all sorts of things in the background.
did I do that? You know,
Yeah, you did do that.
or I thought I did that, but I didn't.
In there.
I wake up and I see lights on, and I say, I didn't turn those lights on. What's going
Maybe
on?
the place is haunted.
Could be.
Okay.
It's my brain that's haunted.
Well, I hope not. Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe. Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Filthy Tom Lawler joining us here today for a fun and exciting week. Tom, why don't you tell everybody what's coming up?
Well, this week is the first ever Wrestling Observer Live Back to School Reading Week, Brian. I begged, prodded, stump pulled you into submission until you gave in and said, okay, we can have on a few authors. So this week, we have today Carl Stern to talk his tremendous, fantastic, superlative pro wrestling pioneer omnibus. I butchered the name, but all those words are in the title. Tomorrow, we will have Tara Calloway, the wife of Jeff Cannonball, who recently wrote a book, My Daddy is a Pro Wrestler, a children's book. And on Thursday, we will have Ian Douglas, an author of many, many different books, but most recently a decided novelty, The Essential Guide to Black Pro Wrestling History, 1880 to 1950. So
my God, a lot of history coming up this week.
Well, you know, Brian, I am a former educator myself. I possess a social science education degree from the University of Central Florida, and I taught history, American history, world history in high school, and it is a passion of mine. And more specifically, combat sports history is a passion of mine. There's a ton of other great authors out there in this genre who I wish we could get on. Some of them don't speak to me at all. Some of them wish to come on, and hopefully we can have them on in the near future. But yeah, Back to School Reading Week going down this week on Wrestling Observer Live.
All right. Well, Carl will join us in the final segment of the show. In the meantime, we got a lot of news to get into here today, including last night's Raw. The big angle on the show was a segment involving CM Punk and Becky Lynch. And CM Punk is angry at Seth Rollins. He wants him to come down to the ring. Becky comes out instead. And CM Punk wants nothing to do with her, and he tries to leave, and she cuts him off and tells him to get back in the ring and listen to her talk. And she cuts this big promo about how all of this doesn't just affect Seth. It involves her family as well. He says, I don't care about your family. And they go back and forth, and ultimately Seth comes out and says, I dare you, come get me. So Punk tries to head up the ramp, and Becky blocks his path. And then he tries to get around her, and she blocks his path again. And then Seth finally walks away. And so Becky gets right in Punk's face, and she starts paintbrushing this dude. And she's slapping him hard. And he's turning just beet red. He's furious, but he can't do anything. And finally, he makes the comment. I should get the exact comment right here. But basically, he says, where is it? He says, I'm going to make Seth regret ever cashing in on me, and you're going to regret ever putting your hands on me. And he leaves. And obviously, you know, they did teases on both Sunday and Monday, or at least whatever the day the pay-per-view was. And on the pay-per-view, Seth Rollins got right in CM Punk's face, and he screamed, I hate your family. And then during the Becky segment with Punk, the crowd is loudly chanting for AJ Lee. And twice she acknowledges the chants and says she doesn't work here. So obviously, it was pretty clear yesterday that all of this was being done to set up a mixed tag. And we can confirm that it is a mixed tag. It's CM Punk and AJ Lee against Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. And it will be on WrestlePalooza. And so I presume AJ's return will probably be next Monday on Raw, unless they want to delay it one more week. But that is the match. So we got the return of AJ Lee teaming with Punk against Seth and Becky. We've got CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar. And we've got the Usos teaming up again to face Braun and Bronson in a tag match. So, man, they are loading this show up to try to destroy All Out. And we'll see if they can do it.
Yeah, and conspicuous by its absence at Clash in Paris was the much-rumored matchup between Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. So where is that going to
That'll probably be on that show as well.
Well, Would you like to amend
No.
your prediction?
110,000. Minimum.
110,000.
That's the minimum. What's up with your head?
It's huge.
I guess it is, isn't it?
It's got to store all these wrestling facts from reading.
Oh, is that what it is? Is that why it's so big? Also, should note, we talked about this on Observer Radio, but it is pretty much confirmed. Lucha Blog has stated that the new hologram, El Clone, will be played by Arez. So, I'm pretty sure I'm taking credit for the clone. This is an idea that I had over 30 years ago that I've talked about multiple times on various shows here on the website. Except my idea did not involve a masked wrestler. My idea involved finding, it was actually triplets, and training them to wrestle, but not letting anybody know about the other two. And then eventually you would do a clone gimmick with the other two, the twin, and then later the triplet showing up. I had a whole shebang based on a clone, and it looks like they're going to be doing this in AEW with, I guess, it will be Arez and Aramis who plays hologram. So, yeah.
Cool story, bro.
Yeah, El Clone.
You know,
too bad you couldn't play my clone. Your head's too big.
Bebop and Rocksteady were the tag champions in my action figure federation.
It doesn't matter.
Back when I was a kid.
It doesn't matter, dude. You didn't talk about.
Neither does the
Have you
stupid
ever
clone.
talked about that here on the show? Can you imagine the only person that can beat hologram is in fact hologram? What a shocker. What do you think of The Rock?
Well, apparently, he's quite an actor.
That's what they say.
15-minute standing ovation for the Smashing Machine. The Rock's performance now lauded by the critics. Opened up. At one point, I believe it had 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, although I doubt that could ever hold up on this planet. But, hey, I hope it's a good movie. I mean, I loved the original Smashing Machine, of course, a Mark Kerr-based documentary which follows the Pride Grand Prix and his, quite frankly, his tragic downfall in that tournament where he went in the favorite. And ever since it's been announced that this was a film that The Rock was going to direct, he was going to star in, I think a lot of people, looked at it as like, well, why are they making this film? Is it because The Rock can bulk up? He finally found a character where he has to bulk up to play.
Yeah.
But apparently that does not seem to be the case. Although maybe he had his fair share. Maybe he just was sick and tired of all the pancakes and cheat meals because The Rock, after bulking up to play Mark Kerr, has now slimmed down tremendously.
Yes, he has.
I mean, I don't think he looks too bad. Looks healthy.
I mean, yeah, he looks healthy. Yeah, we'll talk more about this after the break. Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Let's do this unnecessary censorship.
Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says I just your ass.
That was terrible. Horrible. They weren't the Heart Foundation. They weren't the British Bulldogs, okay? They're two geeks. And this celebration these guys did.
Oh.
I mean, they're like, Sean, give me brother! Yeah!
A place like that?
You two dorks. That's what you did! Why are you so excited?
Because they're awesome.
Okay. That was better than the first one.
It picked up at the end there.
Yes.
Unnecessary censorship.
He beat him, and 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 he beat him. I'm sweating.
Time to stop.
And he beat him,
Was this edited?
and then he beat him, and he beat him. I actually wore that shirt. It just says he beat him, he beat him, he beat him all the way down. Like,
All the way down, you say?
I dropped her off at camp, and the camp counselor just looks at me. She goes, he beat him and beat him. I was like, gag gift.
Brian, would you for me again this week? It's too hot to do much.
That's true. It is too hot to do much.
I guess I just better do it because it came up for me.
I'll wait.
It won't come up again. It's pretty short, so I'll just do it. Yeah. Now I gotta find it back.
Okay.
It isn't
Dale, I'm
coming
gonna
up.
kill you. How about you just it? Okay.
Ouch.
What else have we got, Vinny? Hope the granny licks her finger to turn the page. Lick that finger. There'll be
Page
an
2.
unnecessary censorship coming up. Lick that. Okay, let's see. Unnecessary censorship.
So Oro Ethan after the match and gets his ass just into the earth.
Vinny.
And Ethan is leaving, holding his all confident. And then Oro just comes back to life, and now he Ethan's ass.
Oro jumps him from behind.
Yep.
Then he beats his ass after cheap shotting the guy. Haha. That was interesting. That's quite unnecessary. Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe. Okay, before I get back to The Rock, I just got to say, the best feud of 2025 is Dave Meltzer versus the Netflix numbers. And there's an article that will be up for subscribers soon on the front page of WrestlingObserver.com that you all must read. Do you understand? Especially those of you who refuse to read them and don't want to, you must. You must read the article that Dave has written about the Netflix ratings. It's the most amazing thing I may have ever seen. All right, going back to The Rock. You know, the one thing I will say, here's the thing, Tom. You love the Smashing Machine. Smashing Machine was awesome, okay? Everybody that gave him that 15-minute standing ovation How many of them do you think watched the Smashing Machine?
Probably 0.
Okay. I would bet that people who watched the Smashing Machine probably may not like the movie so much, whereas people who never saw the Smashing Machine are probably going to think it was incredible. That's my prediction about how this is all going to pan out. And I was reading an interview with The Rock related to this movie, and you realize when they first, like even before the trailer, they just had a couple of still shots from the movie. And one of them, he's like sitting in the corner on a bench or something like that, getting ready for the next round or something like that. And I remember when they first announced Dwayne Johnson will play Mark Kerr, I was like, what? I mean, he's muscular, but like, what? And then
It would be like Arnold Schwarzenegger playing you.
it was just, well, I mean, it'd be the other way around, which would be, believable. But the point is, I was like, how was, what? And so the first pictures came out of Dwayne Johnson as Mark Kerr. And I was like, oh my God. He actually looks like Mark Kerr. And then, like, the trailer came out, and I was like, holy smokes. This guy looks like, I mean, they put hair on him and everything like that, but I was like, he looks like Mark Kerr. So I was reading the interview, and as it turned out, he basically had to show up every day, and they would sit him in the chair for like 4 hours, and they would apply all of these prosthetics to his face to make him look like Mark Kerr. 4 hours every day. It's like he was Lone Chaney playing the frickin' Wolfman. 4 hours a day he's in that chair so they could put all this stuff on his face so he could play Mark Kerr. And then, obviously, at the end of the day, they take it all off. But, I mean, that answered that question, because it is uncanny how much that guy looks like Kerr in this movie. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, it was a shocker.
Was it really?
To see how much he looked like him, you literally just went on a diatribe.
I know, but you blew it off, so. All right. We're going to, do you want to talk about Rampage Jackson?
No, I'll tell you why. Because I'm about to go on Ariel Helwani's show after this show to talk about that very incident. So,
All right.
if you would like to, then go right ahead. But I certainly don't feel like leading the conversation.
Well,
about
he just
his
put out
comments.
He put out a thing. I'm not even going to read it, but like now it's totally swung where now he's like angry at everybody else. And he still says he doesn't...
including Raja.
Yeah, he's still upset at his son, but now he's like... if he's blaming Stu. If he wasn't drunk, hit my head with a real beer can, and, if my son would have just went to the police, there would have been an arrest and all this. It's like, hold on a second. Like, I don't want to litigate all of this, but Rampage, you're telling me that if you would have gone to the police when Stu hit Raja with a can, there would have been an arrest? Even though later in the show, Raja went in and hit him with 21 unanswered punches, and that wasn't an arrest? But you think he's going to get arrested for hitting him with a beer can? Anyway, if you want to read it, it's on his, I think it's on his, I don't know what it's on. It's just ridiculous. $217,000 for the GoFundMe, however. And I may as well plug your appearance, Tom.
The Ariel Helwani show coming up right after this show ends, which will be 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Good Lord, he does a long show because it's been going on since before this show. It's been going on for a few hours. He already talked about the Raja Jackson incident, although they've been off for 2 weeks, I believe. So Ariel had some thoughts on that, and I guess as a independent pro wrestler and MMA fighter, I'm an expert, so I'll be on there to
You are an expert, Tom.
to speak on this situation. I've also watched all these interviews ad nauseum. So
How come you're obsessed with this to this degree?
I'm not.
Well, you've watched them all ad nauseum, you said.
Because people keep asking me questions about it. I was at physical therapy, and the therapist asked me about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. All right, a couple of notes from the Raw show. There were like a million shows this weekend, but I guess what's the gist of everything? Well, we had a couple of good matches on the show. Although, I mean, here's the thing. I didn't think this was a great show except for the Punk Becky segment. And there was some good wrestling on the show. But it was one of those shows where, Netflix is out of the country, and so, they try to make it impossible for you to fast forward if you watch it at a later time. So I tried to find a workaround, and, it was not easy. But, I mean, even taking that out, okay, let's just say that everything was fine. It was still, like, the same thing they always do with matches, but it seemed much worse on this show, which was they spent 1,000 years getting him into the ring. They ring the bell. They go 1 minute. They do a heat spot, but then go to commercial. The entire heat is during the break. They come back from commercial for only the comeback. And then, in at least 2 of the matches, they botched the finish. And then we had a just blatant run-in, finish for another one. So, if you like WWE, you probably thought it was a good show. If this stuff irritates you, you probably didn't. But, like Raquel and Roxanne versus Asuka and Kairi, I don't know what happened here, but, Asuka went for her hip attack.
Roxanne was out of position. She wasn't on her butt.
I guess, but it looked
where
terrible.
Asuka usually hits it, the Empress, Empress attack or something?
So she's out of position. It looks terrible. She falls over by the ropes. Asuka goes to cover, and the ref goes, Asuka lock! So Asuka just gets off of her. The ref doesn't even count 2, and she kicks out. She's like, gets off of her and puts her in the Asuka lock and submits her. So that was a botched finish. And then we had the War Raiders and Penta versus Grayson Waller and New Day. And, Eric and Ivar tried, I think, what is this move that they tried? Because it got totally botched. It looked like they almost killed poor Woods. And then Penta hit the Mexican Destroyer and got the pin. So whatever that double team was, that was botched. And then we had, I thought AJ and Dom was really good. And, the Finn Balor match was, with Dragon Lee was good as well. I don't know about you, but I thought the AJ Dom match was better. But, they're having this great match, and all of a sudden at the end, El Grande ends up yanking AJ off the ropes behind the referee's back, loads the mask, headbutts him, and
to the heart.
Yeah. Well,
completely whiffed on the head. But hey, if a heart punch can work in pro wrestling, why not?
Good match. Cheap finish, but a good match. And then the main event.
I think everybody's a bit surprised by the actual finish and not putting the belt on AJ.
Everyone really thought they were putting this belt on AJ?
I think so. I think everybody thought that Dom would end up being that AAA champion and they'd pull this one off of him. But hey, why not? Dom's hot. You know what I mean?
He is, and he could still be the AAA. He should be the AAA champion. He should win that title.
No.
You don't think so?
Pagano should.
Oh, stop. Pagano can beat Dom later on.
All for it.
I'm still kind of sad I'm not going there. I don't know why. I really want to go see that show. But what can you do? Then the main event was Jay and LA Knight versus Braun and Bronson, which, like, after all that, they do a tag match with big stars, and it's a clean pin. So that was at least good. Braun speared Jay to death, pinned him clean in the middle, and then they had the big beatdown afterwards, and Big Jim made the save, and I think people have this impression that, like, the Usos haven't teamed up in years, but they actually teamed up on Raw, like, a few months ago, actually, in just a straight tag match. So they're doing it again here. The Usos versus Braun and Bronson, and that's that.
I mean, I'll be honest. I think that Raw tag division really needs a shot in the arm. And I don't think it would be a bad idea to reunite the Usos for a little bit, get the belts on them, and then, they can pass it on to somebody else. Because, I mean, while Judgment Day is a good team, there's just nobody set up for them to face. You know what I mean? It seems like the Viking Raiders and New Day are just stuck fighting amongst themselves, and the Judgment Day has no challengers. But
Man, I gotta say, that Judgment Day heel turn was like freaking great. And boy, has the follow-up just been nothing. Back in a moment with Carl Stern, Wrestling Observer Live. Granny, what's happening? What do we got for the wrestling report here today?
Talk or something.
Talk
Talk
or something.
So Niven comes in, jumps on Bailey with her overweight body a couple of times, doesn't mind playing dirty, leaves Bailey on the mat in lots of pain. I found this book. It's called Limericks from the Heart.
Is this a Lanny Poffo book?
Let me finish this one. This guy's name is Lanny Poffo. And there are 335 pages in here. Can you guess what it's about?
Smoking.
Oh,
Sean
Hey,
the
yeah.
Wizard.
have you read it?
We read it every week for about 6 months.
When I first started.
Wow.
Why don't we start reading some questions, and we'll see if we can spur some answers out of Granny. Shall we try?
No, I don't think so.
Let's try.
Then you'll really find out how dumb I am.
Granny, did you know there was a wrestling bear?
No, and I don't care.
All right.
It's a bear that wrestled people.
I still don't care.
Okay.
Is Granny frozen?
Granny, you frozen?
No, I'm ready to read my report.
Your picture is frozen.
It is
Yeah. Or you're doing a great job as a ventriloquist.
Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa, or whatever his last name is. Paul Newman is watching this match, and he's not on
Excuse me?
Cody's side. What's the matter?
Absolutely nothing. Everything's great.
You know, Cody did say that he was looking for a manager. I think him and Paul Newman would be a
What a handsome pair.
a dashing duo.
That guy's a movie star, isn't he?
Since you're on the phone, why don't we just jump right into your wrestling report and such, and then we'll let you go and we'll do Facebook without you.
Can I lay the phone down and can you hear me?
You can try. Why don't you give it a shot?
Okay.
Oh boy, it's going to be a disaster. I can already tell.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. That's all right, I guess.
Go ahead.
No, it's your segment. You're gonna read
Read us jokes.
or your wrestling report or whatever. I see Granny has now put the phone back up to her ear.
I'm just, for now.
Do you have the soaps or anything else, Granny, or are we? Is that it?
I want to quit for now.
Okay. Well,
No more.
instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe. The show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Filthy Tom Lawler is joining us, as well as the great Carl Stern, author of Dragon King Carl's Pioneer Era Pro Wrestling Omnibus. In paperback, I might add. Carl, how you doing?
Sounds like in all capital letters also. I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing, Brian? And Tom, good to be on the show with Tom finally. Listened to Tom for many, many, many years. Big fan. Glad to hear him, and you as well. Hope everything's going well.
All right. I'm going to let Tom largely run this interview here today, Carl. But
Yeah, because Tom knows his stuff. That's what
yeah, he does.
You're saying. Veiled way. Tom knows about the history of professional wrestling, the origin and evolution of said sport as well.
yeah, Carl, I thought I knew about the origin of said sport, but to be quite honest with you, after reading your research, after reading this very book, I realized that I knew very, very little about the origins of the sports in which I, take part in. Of course, mixed martial arts and pro wrestling, both coming off this same family tree. Now, this book, the Pioneer Era, the Pioneer Omnibus, is what it focuses on. Can you tell the listeners out there what exactly is the Pioneer Era? Can you define it for our beautiful people out there?
Absolutely, Tom. What I did was, wrestling is very cyclical, and we can look back just as fans of it and as historians, whatever your case may be. You can look back at different times. We all are familiar with, the Attitude Era. And then prior to that, you had the Hulkamania Era. Then you had the Territorial Era, and so on and so forth, all the way back. The beginning of what we know as both professional wrestling and, to some degree, mixed martial arts in America, the origin of that is actually the 1800s. A guy named Frank Gotch came along around 1899, and he changed everything. I mean, wrestling was very, very popular in the 1800s, but he, of course, really upped the ante, and most people trace the modern origin of wrestling back to him, but that's not really true, and it's not really accurate. The Pioneer Era is before 1900, or roughly before Frank Gotch. And it's an era that gets so vastly underlooked, and the reason it's important, and most people, even myself, you talked about you learned some things. I myself learned tons from the book.
You know what? I want to jump in here because one of the things that I really learned, I don't want to make light of it because it's also, a lot of this is from newspapers from that era. You got reports from a lot of these newspapers, correct? And
absolutely,
yes. Yeah. The one thing I noticed in the early part of the book is that many people died. Like every page, there's a story of somebody who died during a wrestling match in like the 1830s and 1840s. Like this guy suffered a fall and hit his head on a flour bucket, which, by the way, I'm not making that up. Or, this guy had a spinal injury and died. It's like one after another. This person died. This person died. I mean, is it really that, like, what's going on?
Well,
no, that's actually a very great and very educated question, Brian, because it's actually an illusion, I believe. It wasn't nearly as dangerous as it's often portrayed to be. What you are actually seeing is something we still see today and have seen historically. Brian, you've dealt with the media a lot during your time. I mean, you were on the ground floor of the Benoit situation, all that. You've done lots of media. And it's not unfair to say that mass media has largely hated pro wrestling as long as I can remember, and that was no different in the 1800s. The newspapers largely hated wrestling, but it was even more so than that. The early deaths, the reason they're included in there is because a lot of times newspapers would confuse a situation. They would be a typical barroom drunken brawl, and they would call it, quote, wrestling, because wrestling was considered a vice, along with gambling and drinking, and these things often took place in saloons and places of ill repute. And It was just lumped in by society as being, this dirty, seedy kind of thing. So I think what actually happened is a lot of the people who ended up, getting killed and whatever, they were truthfully wrestling around, but they were having a bar fight.
Sure.
And the newspapers reported it as wrestling because, hey, look, this is what your kids become if they are, that time it was adults gambling. This was your old man, your husband, he's getting involved in this type of stuff. Ladies, keep your old men at home and not gambling on wrestling on a Saturday night, which is really where wrestling came from. The thing, Brian, Tom, that surprised me so much was how early pro wrestling became worked in America. I had no idea. I thought these were real old-timers in a barn somewhere practicing catch holds on one another until they got it right. And while there was some truth to that, and certainly some of the pioneers were very legitimate fighters and physical culturists, the truth is the majority, and I hate to break this to everybody, but the majority of the history of wrestling has been worked. They even had a name for it back in the day called put-up job or hippodrome. That was the 1800 equivalent of the word work today.
Yeah, and Carl, I mean, I think it's important that we kind of differentiate for the listeners out there that there's a multitude of different ways that somebody could work a match. This doesn't just mean both people are always in on it. We've seen this actually in Pride and other MMA organizations where sometimes both people are in on it. Sometimes it's a case which somebody carries another person longer than, you know, the viewing public is expecting. Sometimes it's when somebody throws a match, and we see all of these in the Pioneer Omnibus.
Yeah, definitely so, because boxing is another place where that takes place. You know, the old tomato can. You know, the guy that they're pushing up the ladder doesn't realize, you know, he's getting fed lesser opponents. And you see the crossover with boxing and bare knuckles boxing, especially in the Pioneer era. Look, these promoters, they were learning all their stuff from the same place. There was a guy originally back in the Pioneer era. If you're looking for your prototype Vince McMahon or your prototype wrestling promoter, there was a guy out of New York named Harry Hill. And Harry Hill had an establishment down in the Bowery there in New York where a lot of boxing, wrestling, and so forth took place. And he is really the first person to, on an organized scale, put together a wrestling troupe or a wrestling promotion, or you could even say a territory. And that, too, has, you know, many ramifications for the future. So basically anything you can see in the modern era of professional wrestling, you can find a mirror of it somewhere in the Pioneer era, from wrestling bears to all points in between.
Even just, Carl, even just to me, one of the things that stood out is the lockup, right? I mean, one of the predominant styles that you would see in Pioneer Wrestling was collar and elbow wrestling, right? And what is the first thing that people are taught to do in professional wrestling? Bryan, you can attest to this. I know it. We know it from experience. It's that collar and elbow lockup. And to me, I mean, that's a direct descendant from the Pioneer era.
I think they did I think they did that lockup backwards, though, from reading the description of where your right arm and your left arm go. I think they actually did it.
They did. Yeah, that's a great point, Brian, because they did alter back and forth. But the reason they did that is because sometimes collar and elbow would be performed in like these harnesses, which was essentially the same thing as a judo jacket, just done a little different. And depending on if someone was right-handed, left-handed, or if both people were, they could agree to work differently. But you're exactly right in saying that it isn't interesting that the origin of wrestling started out with the first move you see in a modern pro wrestling match, the collar and elbow hookup. Collar and elbow wrestling was the most popular style of wrestling in the United States just after the Civil War, and most of the big names that you know from that time period, like Colonel James H. McLaughlin and John McMahon, no relation to the later Vince McMahon, but they were your big champions of the collar and elbow era. Other styles as well, but predominantly that for sure.
It seems to me that, like, the first real famous worker was this king of wrestlers Charles fella, who it sounds like him and a buddy would, like, you know, they'd go town to town and, like, he would issue a challenge, and then, like, his buddy, who people didn't know was his friend, would, like, accept, and they would do the match and, like, split the earnings or whatever.
Does he predate Abe Lincoln? You don't think Abe Lincoln was a worker, Bryan?
Well, from what Carl talks about, sounds like he was more of a shooter. But this king of wrestler Charles was like, he sounds like for sure a worker. And it's funny because when you read about the stuff that this guy did, like he goes to town, he puts the ads in the paper, I'm king of wrestlers Charles, and then like he'll do his challenge or whatever, and then he ends up getting beat. It's like this is like exactly what we're seeing with, like, what's his face on AEW.
Max Caster.
Max Caster. He's like the first Max Caster.
You know, it's very interesting. That person is kind of nebulous who that was, but he was for sure the first one we know of from the papers who came to the United States, literally put up billboards in town saying, come meet King of the Wrestlers Charles, you know, put up your 25 cents or whatever to last a fall with him. It's very possible, and this is something I learned from putting together the book. I knew the basics, but I didn't know the extent. we owe professional wrestling to France. France is where these original guys came from. This was probably, king of the wrestlers, Charles, was probably Charles Arpin, a French professional wrestler, the most famous French professional wrestler at that time, and a guy who was in the circus acts and stuff. And so what most of, especially the Greco-Roman stuff that came over here, which was not like you think of the Olympic Greco-Roman or the collegiate Greco-Roman. No, this was based loosely upon that. It was a very entertainment style, and most of the newspapers knew, this was a fraud, this was a put-on, but it was entertainment. So very early on, they introduced that aspect to wrestling. So if the question ever is asked, why was wrestling work to begin with? Well, that was why. 2 reasons: gambling, to fleece gamblers out of money, and the other was for the entertainment aspect. We can put on a show the public will want to buy a ticket to.
Carl, I have a question. I mean, obviously you've researched thousands of these Pioneer era wrestlers. You have to have one favorite wrestler. Is it Colonel James McLaughlin? Is it William Muldoon? Is it Uziel Prickett?
Well, I would have to say Uziel Prickett is my favorite just because he's so outlandish and ridiculous. The stuff that he ended up getting murdered over working literally faking a match. He was murdered because the wrong gamblers lost. And he had involved in some ridiculous exploits. But I have to say, look, I started the book with a little bit of a bias. I really felt Colonel James H. McLaughlin had long been overlooked. He was always second fiddle to William Muldoon, and I felt like his accomplishments really probably stacked up or surpassed Muldoon's. But the more research I put into it, and even beleaguered by the fact that Muldoon's career was only really about 10 years long, and he suffered through long layoffs due to injury at times. But he really was. William Muldoon unquestionably was the biggest star of the Pioneer era. He was a guy who, make no mistake, he was a worker through and through, worked many, if not most, of his matches. But like many of the greats, like a Ed Strangler Lewis or maybe even a Lou Thez or even a filthy Tom Lawler, he was a real deal also. He could really go. He really had shooting legitimate skills. And so, if he said he won or lost, that's the way it went. And so I have to always come back to William Muldoon. Even though he's the most famous name in the Pioneer era, I think he is because he should be. He really changed the perception of wrestling, and the newspapers even came around for a while to liking what he was doing.
All right, stick around for a moment, Carl. Back in a moment with more Observer Live. Just a quick note before this free video. If you click like and subscribe, I'd be very thankful. What was up with this week? Everyone thinking Monday was Tuesday.
Well, that was just
Everyone?
you, sir.
Yeah, well, I mean, when it happened, it was like I got all these people that were messaging me going, my God, I thought it was Tuesday too today. It was like something happened with like the moon or something, and it caused everybody to think that Monday was Tuesday. You know what I'm saying?
No.
It's like, God, am I losing it?
Yes.
Have you ever lost something and gave up all hope before finding it in an obvious place?
Yeah, my mind. I went to go make her the quesadilla, and I opened up the pantry, and there's no tortillas. I looked down on the ground, and there's the package that they used to be in, but there's no tortillas. So I call Hanale over, and she says, well, I didn't know how to close the bag.
Uh-oh.
So I put them all in a box of light bulbs. I said, why did you put them in a box with light bulbs? Swear to God, she goes, if that box is good enough for light bulbs, it's good enough for tortillas. And I said, no, that's not worse. I open the box, these tortillas are hard as a rock.
She is so your daughter.
Crumbling to dust.
It's insane.
God.
I lost my wallet at the Alamo Dome. The next day, I got a call from an usher that he found it. When I met up with him, everything was still in it. He refused to accept any money from me.
Wow.
Wow. I once lost my wallet in El Segundo.
Lantian says Big Dave's sanity.
Wow.
Well, I mean, he found it then. It's right there. It's never lost.
99% of the time, no matter where I park, I always know exactly where it is. But there's always that 1% of the time where is my car?
Dude.
And it's like in a bizarre place. Like, what was going on? All right, Granny, what do we got?
We need to buy you a machine that you speak into, and it converts your voice into text.
Oh, my God.
So you don't have to write it down anymore.
Absolutely not.
And then I think even better, we put that text into a text-to-voice app and have it read her.
Oh, my God.
Whatever. Stacy Keebler, her and Tori had a eggnog fight. Just a minute here.
Okay.
Lose my page.
Then he
I
looks
decided
completely depressed over there.
Take something from down below.
Mind your own business.
They're like,
Ray Kinsella builds a baseball field
Field
on
of
his
Dreams. Kevin Costner.
baseball.
James Earl Jones.
If you build it, they will come.
Iowa.
Oh, all right.
You didn't let me finish the question, Brian.
No, she's right.
Oh, she yells at me. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Carl Stern is joining us here today, author of Dragon King Carl's Pioneer Era Pro Wrestling Omnibus. I have put a link up on my Twitter if you want to check it out. There's a link up for the hardcover as well as the Kindle Unlimited version, which you can read for free if you have Kindle Unlimited. So check that out. And Carl, tell us more about the book. Oh, now
talk
tell
about
us.
this because do we leave Tom out? Tom tagging in. I have put so much research, like Brian, as you know, 30 years of research into the Pioneer Era. I mean, I started putting out newsletters with Pioneer Era stuff back in the 1990s. This is far, far, far deeper project than I've ever worked on before in my life. I have exhausted everything I know to get these stories correct and to dispel some of these mythologies that exist and really show how entertainment style pro wrestling that we see today and have all watched, big fans of our whole life, how did this really start in America? In my book, Dragon King Carl's Pioneer Era Pro Wrestling Omnibus, almost 700 pages worth of Pioneer Era notes, all wrestling before 1900. And look, if people go to Amazon, put in the Pioneer Era Omnibus, it should come up. Also, the front page of my website, which is whenitwascool.com, has plenty of links there as well. Greatly appreciate anybody. And look, hey, if you've read the book, please review it on Amazon. We've got 5-star reviews so far, and that really helps us get worked up in their little algorithm.
The algorithm.
The
That's
algorithm.
right. They didn't have those in the 1800s. All right, Carl, we got to get out of here, but I want to thank you so much for doing the show today. Check it out, everybody. Dragon King Carl's Pioneer Era Pro Wrestling Omnibus. It's on my Twitter at Bryan Alvarez. Check it out. And that's it. We'll talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.